Okay, good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Suman. My name is Philippa O'Connor Bennett, and I am the coordinator for the Technical Regulations Unit at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. It is a privilege and an honor to be sharing with you guys this afternoon regarding getting your products ready to be registered with the BSJ. Well, the BSJ no longer does registration, but I will go into further details as to the entity that does that and the services that are offered by the BSJ. I'm a little stuffy today, so please pardon any sound of stuffiness in my voice. So let me just go straight ahead by sharing my screen. This one. All right, so I do not need to go over presenting my slide number one, but to just break the ice a bit, let me see outside of myself. Mr. Soman, how many persons do I have on this call, excluding the panelists and the persons from UCC?
So there are 34 people online.
Okay, and the maximum time allotment for this session is how long?
About 45 minutes.
45 minutes, okay. I wanted to get an idea of the persons who are in the group in terms of their interest, their line of business, etc. Could you provide me with that information? I asked because I wanted to take a brief introduction of the persons who are on the call, but I don't think time would permit that. Mr. Soman, are you there? I'm not getting any response.
Or you can put the questions in the question and answer segment.
Okay. All right, so in the interest of time, let's just get right into our presentation. So my presentation today regarding its content, I will be taking a look at the overview of the BSJ. How does the BSJ support small businesses, the services offered by the BSJ, and getting your business registered. All right, so the BSJ, based on our mission, we're a customer-focused organization, and we are involved in promoting the international competitiveness of Jamaican producers, facilitating business development and trade, support consumer protection through standardization, metrology, testing, verification, and training. So in a nutshell, we help businesses to do trade. So we have two types of markets. We have the domestic market, which includes Jamaican products that are locally produced. And we have the imported market, which includes products that enter our shores from overseas. So we enable Jamaican producers to access overseas markets based on our different services. And then we also act like a watchdog in terms of ensuring that the products that are made here in the Jamaican market, they're safe enough for the public's consumption. We'll talk about that in the subsequent slides. So how do we support small businesses at the BSJ? One, we do that through standards development. We do that also through testing. We have chemical testing and microbiological testing that is done here at the BSJ. We also do label assessments for different labels, equipment calibration. We conduct training for different persons in industries based on the different needs. We also do certification, and we offer trade support in terms of providing information and assisting companies to enter overseas markets. I'll talk about that also in the subsequent slides. We also offer what we call the Client Services Program that seeks to provide technical advice, especially for startup businesses. We walk you through the process, through the different requirements, the different standards that you need to meet, etc. And I will share more about that also in the subsequent slides. A few housekeeping matters. I will make the presentation and we'll take the questions at the end. So you can make note as I go through the different slides. You can make note of what the questions you might have or whatever areas you might be unclear about that I would have shared. So I made mention about standards development and the fact that we assist MSMEs through standards development. But what is standards development? Everything in this world has a standard. There's a standard at the time that you need to arrive at work. So perhaps your place of employment might say you need to get here by 8:30 in the morning. There's a standard for uniforms. There's a standard at the stoplight. There's red, green, and gold. So standards are a part of everyday life. However, when it comes down to products and services, there's a different type of standard that we talk about. And at the BSJ, we are the recognized national standards body for setting standards for different commodities and services. However, to initiate this, we first have to have a need communicated to us for a standard. So let's say you intend on going into prepackaged oyster. Don't know where that thought came from, but perhaps that's a business idea. So if you are planning to do prepackaged oyster and you survey the market and you realize that there are no standards locally for prepackaged oyster, what you would do, you would approach us at the BSJ and say, hey, I want to introduce this product called prepackaged oysters. I have surveyed the market and I realized that there are no standards for this product. However, I want to sell it here locally and I also want to export it. So you come to us and you say, okay, guys, I need a standard for this. What the BSJ would do now, we would assign and develop what we call a technical committee. The technical committee is comprised of persons who have an interest in the subject matter. So what we do, we pull together probably other persons who are in the prepackaged oyster business or who are intending on going to the prepackaged oyster business. We'll pull them together along with different persons from industry, academia, the public, and other government agencies. And then this would comprise a technical committee that would now develop the standard for prepackaged oyster. Once it has been done and the standard has been developed, we have to consult with the public, just like any other legislation or national document. We have to invite the public to provide comments. And so we do that through what we call the public comments phase. And then it's required by our internal processes to have the standards submitted to our standards council for their approval. Subsequently, the ministry, in this case, it will be the Ministry of Industry, because the BSJ is an agency under the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. And so once one minister has given approval for the standard, it's now gazetted and promulgated as a national standard. And so therefore, the players in the prepackaged oyster industry would now have a local standard to trade with regards to prepackaged oyster. All standards that are published by the BSJ, they can be accessed through the Technical Information Center, and this is what we call the library. They're also available in both hard and soft copies, as well as standards may be purchased online. And these here are just some examples of the different standards that we already have in our catalog. GS36, that's the standard for processed food. So if you are intending on entering into the processed foods industry, the GS36 standard is a must. There's also the GSCRS5 that pertains to the labeling of prepackaged foods. So once you are intending on doing any form of processed foods, then you'd have to comply with the requirements of the GS36 and the GSCRS5. We also have standards for cosmetics, cosmetic products. Now, in addition to standards development, the BSJ offers testing services. The BSJ offers tests with specialized equipment, standards, skilled personnel, and standardized testing methods. We offer testing in terms of microbiological analysis, chemical analysis, and label assessments. Let us use this example of honey, and on my slides you have locally produced items. So we're going to look at these examples in terms of our testing services. So there's a JSCRS 18 that applies to honey, locally produced honey. And then there's a JSCRS 35 spices and sauces that applies to spices and sauces. So with regards to the microbiological test for honey, we would check for yeast and mold, aerobic plate count, and extraneous matter. For sauces, we'd also checked for extraneous matter, aerobic plate count, salmonella, E. coli, and coliform count. The chemical test would be done by our chemistry laboratory. And for honey, we look for things such as the sugar content, the water content. And for ginger, we'd look at things, for example, moisture and total ash. Now, the third testing services that we offer here is pertaining to packaging and labeling. Once you are intending on trading here locally in the domestic market or exporting, your product has to have a label, whether it be a food product or a non-food product. And so in this section of the presentation, we'll be looking at what are the labeling requirements for food products and the non-food products. So with regards to prepackaged foods, these are some of the common labeling requirements that you must have if you intend on preparing prepackaged foods for the market. The name of the food, the list of the ingredients, the net content and the drained weight, the name and address statement. So we don't want a PO box because we can't find you at a PO box. So we need a name and an address statement. The country of origin, product of Jamaica, product of Thailand, product of the USA. We need a lot or a batch number, a date mark, instructions for use, and storage instructions. And this is an example of a label. So you'd see the ingredients, manufactured by, the product of which country, that's the country of origin. There's also used by date, the net weight, and the nutritional information. I want to note though that currently in Jamaica, having a nutritional facts panel, it's not compulsory. At the moment, we are looking at a standard to make it compulsory, however, it has not been finalized and made compulsory. So right now, if you're looking at doing prepackaged foods, it's not a mandatory requirement for the Jamaican market to have on a nutrition facts panel. However, if you are gonna be preparing prepackaged foods for export, then you definitely have to have on the nutritional facts panel. So we talked about the labeling requirements for prepackaged foods. Now let's look at the labeling requirements for prepackaged goods. These are non-food items. Firstly, you must have the common or the usual name of the product, any trade name or brand name controlled by the manufacturer, the name and identifiable address of the principal place of business or registered office of the manufacturer, agent, distributor, seller, refiller, packer, importer, or organization responsible for the product. You're also required to list the country of origin, stated as product of, made in, manufactured in, assembled in, a correct statement of the net contents of the package and all ingredients or contents. You're also required to indicate the date mark and the position of the information on the package. Now, let's look at this example here. With regards to labeling, we have what is called the principal display panel. So when you take up a product, the first thing that greets your eye on the front is what we call the principal display panel. And on the principal display panel, you must have the product name, the brand name, and the net content. So based on this example here, you realize that there is the product name, it's called honey skin, right? And then there's the net weight here and the brand name. Other labeling requirements for prepackaged goods include the language used. All statements required shall be in the official language or languages of the country in which the product is being sold. There's also a requirement to include warranties or guarantees, so no reference shall be made on a label or on a package to any warranty or guarantee for any goods unless a copy of the warranty or guarantee is given to the purchaser or consumer at the time of the purchase of the goods. We also require that if you are going to be trading a defective or imperfect good, that they are labeled accordingly. So all goods which are used goods, defective, second, irregular, or imperfect shall be clearly and conspicuously labeled with the words used, defective, second, irregular, pre-owned, reconditioned, refurbished, or imperfect, as appropriate as long as the product remains marketable and safe. So I have just covered services in terms of testing and standardization. We also offer calibration services. So for example, calibration of scales and thermometers, the BSJ does that as well. And it is normally sealed with a calibration sticker to indicate that the item has been calibrated, and it would give a period by which the calibration sticker would expire. We also offer training at the BSJ, and our training arm is known as the Quality Institute, and they offer a wide array of training in related areas such as good manufacturing practices. So if you're in the food industry, there are training opportunities in good manufacturing practices, also known as GMPs, sensory evaluation, food product formulation, sanitation for chemical users, for those who might be in the sanitation business. And there's also training in problem solving for business managers. Now, this list is not exhaustive. There are other training areas, but what I have just mentioned is just a snippet of some of the training offerings. And also, it must be noted that training is also offered online for your convenience. We also offer certification. The National Certification Body of Jamaica provides certification for management systems, such as certification of agricultural produce, organic certification, HACCP recognition, Jamaica Made Mark, and certification. Now, one might be asking, what is certification? If you intend on entering certain overseas market, for example, the US, the European market is a very stringent market. So there are certain standards that you must comply with in order to enter. For example, the EU market. They might ask that your business be ISO 9001 certified. Then you might now ask me, what is ISO 9001? ISO 9001 is a management system standard that certifies that your management system is working and it's efficient. And so if you want to trade with certain enterprises in, for example, the EU market, they might ask that your business be 9001 certified. And if that is a requirement, then the NCBJ offers that type of service. So how do you become registered? Now, I made mention in the earlier part of the presentation that the BSJ, we no longer do registration of establishments. Now, we have been separated, or inspectorate arm that usually does the inspection, monitoring, and registration. And there are now a sister agency that we call the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority. So the abbreviated word is the NCRA. So these are the persons who are responsible for checking the items on the supermarket shelves, checking the imports at the or shores, ensuring that the products that are in the market for sale, that they are safe, etc. The NCRA, this is the entity that is responsible for doing that. Now, if you are in the line of certain businesses, such as trading food or trading goods, whatever type of goods, whether it be electrical products, medical devices, cars, phones, there are certain requirements that you are required to adhere to. So how do you become registered? First, we encourage that you visit the library here at the BSJ and familiarize yourself with the relevant standard. So go back to the example with processed foods. If you have an idea, so you want to develop jam for sale, and you have a brilliant idea, you want to trade jam here and probably export. So what would encourage is that you visit us here at the TIC, that's the Technical Information Center or library, and you read and get yourself familiar with the relevant standards that exist for jams. We do have a jam standard. Now, routinely, it's required that your products be tested. And so we encourage that you have the product tested. If it's jam, then definitely you would have to have a microbiological and a chemical test done to see the sugar activity, to see the level of microbiological activities, etc. We also require that you do a label assessment. So the analyst will now take a look at the label. Are the font sizes correct? Does the label have all the information required? And I made mention of certain information that should be on a label, such as the name of the company, the name of the product, where the country of origin, the address, the net weight, etc. So the analyst would do a label assessment to verify that this information is present on the label. Once you have done that, you ensure that you have your certificate from Companies Office of Jamaica, that you have a tax compliance certificate, and your application for registration of an establishment. Please give me a second. Right. You should also ensure that you maintain proper documentation. For example, having your process flow records, your production records, sanitation records, and pest control records. Now, once you have crossed all of that hurdle, you would now contact the NCRA to obtain an application form. Now, what the NCRA will do, they will visit your establishment to do an inspection. This is a preliminary inspection to see if you are registration worthy. So when the inspectors visit the facility, they will determine your readiness to be registered. Now, a deposit of $5,000 is required for payment by the BSJ at Work Finance Department, and then a scheduled inspection will be arranged for the facility. Once the establishment has met the requirements for registration, then you will be issued a certificate of registration of an establishment. This certificate is valid for 1 year, and your establishment will be monitored during the registration period. So essentially, throughout that 1 year window, you'll have routine inspections, monitoring being done by the inspector assigned. 2 months prior to the expiration of the certificate of registration, you are required to reapply for registration. So then, we've talked about trading locally, but what if your eyes are not on the local market and you want to export? So how can we support you with that? We can do that through the regional and international trade branch and the food safety monetization branch. The regional and international trade branch provides information on market access requirements, reports trade barriers and unfair trade practices, and provides information on technical regulations, standards, and test procedures of other countries. So essentially, if you want to trade a motorcycle from Jamaica to India, what the regional and international trade branch could provide you with is 1, the regulations to enter India, that would be the market access information, provide you with the standards that you would need to comply with in order to enter India, and it also provide you with information with respect to trade barriers. So perhaps they might say, okay, motorbikes less than 5 inches cannot enter, etc. So you provided with that type of technical information as to the requirements to enter that particular market. The Food Safety Modernization Branch provides advisory services and technical guidance to the food industry to meet the requirements for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the Food Safety Modernization Act. And lastly, we provide assistance through the Client Services Program. The goal of the Client Services Program is to enhance the competitiveness and productivity of MSMEs. We intend to do this by increasing the capacity of MSMEs to produce high-quality products and services. This is achieved by providing technical guidance and advisory services in the areas of standards metrology and conformity assessment. Sorry. The CSP offers technical guidance and information on standards awareness, interpretation and implementation, market access requirements, regulatory compliance, both local and international, accreditation and certification requirements, as well as make referrals to other business development organizations. The Client Services Program also offers technical guidance and information on testing, labeling, training, and access to grants and possible discounts. So where there exists, for example, funding for your project, the Client Servicing Program could probably provide you with that type of information where it exists. Nature and limitations of the advice is that the provision of technical advice will be in direct alignment to the express needs of the client and their business objectives. So how does it work? Firstly, a needs assessment is done and a needs assessment report is created. This interaction with the client to fully assess their needs, limitation, and motivation. Subsequently, the client's work plan is created, guided by the results of the needs assessment report, and client-specific solutions, products, or services. Now, the client's work plan includes the scope of work, agreed deliverables such as measures of success and timelines, roles and responsibilities, and BSJ services required to complete intervention. The client work plan is communicated and the client services agreement is subsequently signed. Now, subsequently, the outputs and the outcomes are evaluated and the CSP client feedback questionnaire is administered. Now we have an online platform, the BSJ Me, that's BSJ Monitoring and Evaluation. It's a web application that supports the activities of the Client Services Program. By facilitating ease of access by MSMEs, clients can register online, download their work plan, and view other documents. And I have on my screen here, I'm sharing the link to which you can access the BSJ Me platform if you are interested in being a part of the Client Services Program. So, in summary, we assist the MSMEs and our aim is to growth, quality systems, technical knowledge, competitiveness, differentiation, productivity, reduce consumer risk, and market access. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. The floor is now open for those who might have any questions.
So there is a question from Javorni LV, and he asked, well, they asked, can we outsource all of these compliance steps to somebody?
When you say outsource, meaning that someone do it on your behalf, if that is the intention, yes, but if you're the business owner, at some part in the process, you would have to participate in the compliance process. So someone can assist in terms of gathering the data, the information, etc. But if you are the owner at some point in the process, you would have to be a part of it.
If anyone else has a question, you can raise your hand and that'll allow you to ask your question, or you can type it in the Q&A section. Yes, Alicia Hines, go ahead.
Hi, good day. So my question is there any specific product standards for cosmetics?
Yes, we do. We have a suite of product standards here pertaining to cosmetic products. If you are interested, you can share your information with me and I can have that information shared with you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay.
So another question from Kelly Francis. She asks for non-food goods. Does the BSJ visit property as well?
Not necessarily. So if you could elaborate a little bit so I could answer that. For non-food goods, what we do, we inspect the labels. So for like electrical products, fans, microwaves, etc., we inspect the label. I don't foresee most of these products are usually imported. So if she could elaborate a little bit more, what type of non-food product? I could probably answer a little bit more precisely.
Or she says she makes cosmetic products.
Okay, the Ministry of Health, in some regards, would have oversight from that end, but we'd only check for like the labels. For that type of products, we do label assessments. Once it's cosmetics, you would now venture into the Food and Drug Act, and then we would call upon the Ministry of Health for that aspect.
All right, so we have Anita Williams, and she asks, if I am buying for resale, do I need to be registered as well?
Yes, the labeling of whether it be food or non-food, we have to find you. So when you an address, you're gonna be reselling, so that means you're gonna be putting on a label. And once you're gonna be putting on a label to enter the trade, then you need to be registered with us.
Okay, so Pauline Lewis. All right, so she's asking for an online link.
She's asking me to go back to my slide. Is that the slide with the BSJME?
Yes, I believe that's the one with the two links.
Right, so it's on the screen.
All right, so can you like send it in the chat so they can copy and paste?
No problem.
All right, so someone who wants to remain anonymous, so they ask if microbiological department office if they offer species identification as a service.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, that was
Species
a very
identification sounds more like JIPO, the intellectual property. We do product testing. So she could check with JIPO for that, for species identification.
All right. Another question from Anita Williams. She asks, what type of test is needed for skincare products?
I could get information specific to the type, but I know off my head there are definitely microbiological tests that would be done and some level of chemical testing, but the specific type of testing I wouldn't be able to say. I'd have to refer you to one of the analysts for the specific types of tests. I'm going to go ahead and share my contact in the chat because Mr. Shulman, there are some questions that require some level of referral. The person can make contact with me and then I could put them on to the relevant person.
Okay, sounds good, sounds good. All right, so another anonymous attendee, they ask, does DBJ visit sites for essential oil production?
No. We check the labels. That again would be the Ministry of Health. So once you get the essential oil on the product on the shelves in the market, we'll check for labels. But that aspect would be the Ministry of Health, their Standards and Regulations Department.
All righty. All right. So Yannick Smith is asking, is there a labor requirement for the egg market as well?
We do have an egg standard. We have a standard for eggs. But with regards to label, eggs would fall under the regular labeling of prepackaged goods. So once you intend to trade the eggs in the market, put on a label on the tray, then the general labeling of prepackaged food standard would apply. But in terms of the quality of the eggs, we do have a standard for that.
Okay. Alicia Hines is asking, how long is the process for the development of new standards?
It varies. We have a standard process of 22 months, but that's standard based on international best practices. However, it can be less, sometimes based on the urgency and the need for the standard.
Okay, here's a very interesting question from Simone Morrison. She's asking if she's overseas and intend to import products from Jamaica, would she need to contact the BSJ for any reason?
So she's overseas and she wants to export products from Jamaica.
Yeah, so from Jamaica to where she is.
Yes, definitely. We'd provide you with the information with regards to entering the different markets that you want to enter, because every market has a different requirement. So what the US might want definitely will differ from the EU, because the EU is a very strict market to enter. So definitely would have to contact the BSJ.
All right, so Brian Martin is asking, is there testing done for cold press castor and black castor oil?
Yes, we do. Currently we don't have a national castor oil standard. It's in the pipelines. I know that's being worked on, but we do test. We do have persons who visit us to have their castor oil products tested.
All right, so Eileen Dunkley-Shim is asking, shelf life testing, how is that handled?
The Scientific Research Council, the SRC, they are responsible for doing shelf life tests.
All right, another question from Anita Williams. Would testing be needed for hair care products?
Yes, the specific types, I would have to consult with the microbiologist and the chemist, but definitely chemical and microbiological testing. The specific types, I would have to consult.
All right, Alicia Hines is asking, what exactly does the program problem solving for business managers constitute?
She can reach out to me. I can liaise with the training coordinators to get a little bit more handle on that. But I do know it's really in terms of making decisions, using problem solving for making decisions, whether it be middle management, supervisor, etc.
All right, another anonymous attendee. So they say, if I have multiple flavors for my product, does each individual flavor have to go through the entire process of label assessment and approval? And does each require the fee in its entirety, or is there any discount for the additional flavors?
Boy, Mr. Swman, anonymous attendee seems to be hiding themselves. I'd like to know who's asking all of these brilliant questions. Definitely, once you have multiple items, different flavors, then you'd have to test them individually and have the label assessment done individually. However, we do have a package. If you test, perhaps I think it's more than 3, then you do get a discount.
All right, so Sharon Thompson is asking, I am a manufacturer of milk beverage. What is required?
My first question for her, is she registered? When she say manufacturer of milk beverage, is it that she currently bottles and sells, or she's intending on doing that? I'd have to get that kind of information first. If she's not in the market as yet, then she would have to be registered with the NCRA. We do have milk standards that the labs would test against to ensure that the product is safe and that it's meeting the requirements of the different standards. So if you could answer that, Mr. Soman, by indicating where she is in the process, if she's already registered or not.
All right, so instead, yes, she's registered with COJ and with JIPO.
But she's not registered as yet with the NCRA, that means she can't trade. So the next step in that is that should have to be registered with the NCRA.
Okay, so a few more questions. So one from another anonymous attendee, they're asking how long does it take to register the product?
To register the product or to register the business? Because we really do registration of food processing establishments.
Okay, so how long
And that
does
might take anywhere between 7 to 14 business days.
Okay, wonderful. All right, taking a few more questions. So Sharon is asking to define NCRA.
Okay, so as I was explaining earlier, there was one bureau, and the BSJ, we used to set standards and then we would inspect. So in some person's eyes, the public didn't feel so confident with us setting standards and then inspecting. And so the inspectorate function has been separated. So we now have a new agency that does inspections only, so that the BSJ can focus on setting the standards. So the NCRA really is an agency that inspects and monitors the market. So the inspectors, they check the different shelves and products to ensure that they're complying with the relevant standards. And they also inspect imports to ensure that they are also complying with the relevant standards. So in a simple definition, that's really what the NCRA is about. So they monitor the market.
All right, Simone Morrison, I see that you have a very peculiar question or statement. You can go ahead and unmute and ask to better clarify.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So the question earlier was not necessarily an error. I was saying, like, as for example, if I'm in Canada living,
Mhm.
and there are producers that's out here that I have interest to bring their products to Canada where I would have been living. So it would have been importing from my end, being that I'm in Canada and getting the but agro processing goods, whatever the case is, whatever product, food product or such from Jamaica, it would have been importing from my end. That's what I'm asking. Would I need to make contact to the BSJ for any particular reason in that case?
Yes, you would. So the products first they'd have to be registered, and then we'd have to advise the person here who is entering Canada what are the requirements to enter Canada. So would be the focal point to provide that kind of information.
So that mean it's really the producer that would need to contact the BSJ,
The person here, yes,
right? But not me being in Canada.
not necessary. You can,
Mm-hmm.
it could go either way, but
Okay.
contact would have to be made with us in any regards.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so one more question here from an anonymous attendee. I manufacture milk beverage. What is required?
I think I had answered.
Oh yeah, you answer this one. All right, so Mr. Black or Mrs. Black, all right, so this webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel, UCT Business Development and Consulting Institute, so you can rewatch it and go through the whole presentation as well as the Q&A section and refer to it back whenever you require. There's also the links in the normal chat to the various sign up to the website and so on, as well as Mrs. Bennett's contact information where you can talk to her privately. It's going to be posted on our YouTube channel, so you can go there and you'll see all the information that was provided here today. All right, so this will conclude the webinar. Thank you very much for being in attendance, Mrs. Bennett. It was very informative, and I'm sure that everyone here learned a lot. And I myself, who will be manufacturing products soon, has learned a lot. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys again, and have a lovely day.